if you're going to be a professional, quote unquote, be a professional. Be prepared. Have all those things. Anticipate problems, and it'll save you time. Or be that guy that's out there running around all pissed off and aggravated and coming home late because he didn't have that one little screw or what have you. And, it's a choice. Are you a professional or are you the guy that's just raking leaves?
This is Fred Schweer with Pool RX. You're listening to the Pool Chasers Podcast.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafana. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Javier, for joining us today on the podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot. Glad to be here, guys. You guys are doing a great job with this podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So before we start each episode, we like to get to know, the guests a little bit more. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and all that good stuff.
Sure. I grew up on the outskirts of San Diego, a town called El Cajon. It's probably about 20, 25 minutes from the coast. Kind of gets pretty warm out there, so we don't have that coastal breeze. I'm number 3 of 6 kids. My parents had the first 4 years apart. I think my sister's 11 months apart from myself, so still trying to do the math on that one. But
pretty quick, huh?
We're 3 boys, 3 girls, kind of like the Mexican Brady bunch. I would be Peter Brady or Pedro Brady if that was the case there. And just had a normal upbringing. Played a lot of sports, played a lot of baseball, football, just anything. I mean, it's like, let's get out of the house and go throw the ball around, whatever that was, a wiffle ball, a basketball, what have you. And pretty normal upbringing. And grew up in the early 70s, so that was a really cool time to grow, and people are getting long hair and all that fun stuff. Except me, we've got the buzz cuts.
So for those that can't see Javier right now, he is wearing a Who shirt.
Oh yeah, you got to represent. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, had as I said, a pretty normal upbringing. One major life event is my father died in a car accident when I was 13, and so my mother, she went to like second grade. They're first generation immigrants, and she had to bring up a household of 6 kids, by herself. And so talk about being humble and, learning the value of hard work and all those virtues. Yeah, it's I look back, I have no idea how she did it. So,
well, I'm sorry to hear that. I actually had no idea.
Yeah. And growing up, my older brothers and sister, I had an older brother, older sister, and a younger brother. And we were like the 4. Then I had 2 younger sisters. They were all smart kids. And so my brother, straight A student, played all-stars at everything, did an internship at IBM back in the pre-internet days. And my sister was going to ITT Technical College to learn computers. And my younger brother, gifted student, high school valedictorian, went to Stanford on scholarships. And so as we're growing up, it's like, I'm the C student, it's like, hey, what's going on? As I kind of really felt like a little out of place and felt all this pressure, like, hey, what are you going to do? So I don't know, just kind of hang out and have fun. And so immediately I have 2 daughters, Ellie and Tula, and they are 16 and 18 right now. Really great kids. Right now, currently teaching my youngest daughter how to drive. If you haven't done that, it's a treat.
Oh my goodness,
it's a lot of fun. But
on the stick shift, right?
Oh, of course, yeah, exactly.
Right into the stick.
Now, so they're both athletes. They do tennis and lacrosse and volleyball. Not volleyball, but soccer.
Lacrosse.
And they do lacrosse.
Man, I wish I could play lacrosse. I wish we had that. It's so awesome. They didn't really have that when we were growing up or school.
I don't think a lot of schools do they?
It's kind of funny because one of the soccer dads, he's always yelling at the refs and the whole thing. And I'm sitting next to him at our first lacrosse game, and it's like, man, you're awfully quiet. He says, I don't know the rules. Like they stop. It's like, I don't know either. So let's just enjoy it. But yeah, that's something I still don't understand. But they're out there doing their thing, and a lot of weekends at soccer tournaments. So we just got back from one in Huntington Beach. 2 days of soccer and travel and all that good fun stuff. And
I bet that's cool. How close is the field to the water?
I don't know. We didn't see the water.
I saw 3 high schools. I bet the weather was primo out there.
It was pretty nice. Well, Southern California, it's pretty nice, but coming from San Diego, it's not that much of a climate change there. When my daughters were 8, I coached them in softball for probably a total of 6 years. So that was a really fun time.
It's really
Take
cool.
some tips, Ty. Ty might be maybe a baseball coach for his son.
Yeah, it takes a lot of
I've done it
time.
a couple of times already. Been the assistant coach, but I still play softball on most Wednesday nights. I have for like 7 years now. Yeah, 7 years. So
Yeah, and I play softball Sundays too. Still love it.
yeah, it's pretty fun to get
What
out
position do
there.
you play?
Left field.
Left field? I don't know. Is that a good position?
Yeah, it's one of the top positions in softball.
I think right field's like the worst one.
Right field's the worst.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
But outfield gets a lot of action in softball. It's not the same as baseball.
yeah, I'm sure. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
So you watch a ton of soccer as well?
Ironically, I'm not a big soccer fan. It's like I always tell people, it's not going to catch on. It's not.
It's not going to catch on.
So I'm more of a baseball fan, but when your kids are playing sports, it's like, of course, you got to get into it. I did do a little bit of assistant coaching in soccer, and I was even a team mom for one of the soccer teams because no one was volunteers. I'll do that job. Do it.
The team dad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't really care for people. Always assume like I really like soccer because
Because you're sort of
I'm
Mexican.
like I'm like, no, I mean it's all right.
A real Mexican.
Yeah, I think like if I tell them my favorite player, it's going to be somebody that plays for Mexico. It's like I like Messi. He's from Argentina or something like that.
Yeah, he plays for. Yeah, I think he plays for Argentina.
It's too much running for me. See, softball, you just do one spurt and then it's over.
Oh man,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know how those guys.
Yeah,
do
soccer
it.
is. I played soccer from like the age of 5 till 11, and then I got smart and I was like, I'm not running all around for
It's
one
tough.
goal a game or 2 goals
Yeah.
a game.
You were
It's
talking
rough.
about that like Wayne Gretzky little
Yeah.
Analogy.
analogy, and I kind of did the same thing. I wasn't running a ton. I had that
Knew where to
intuition
be.
where the ball was going to be, so I ran in that direction because I was like, I'm not running all the way over there and then all the way back. I have a feeling that the ball's going to come back my way.
See, he's smart. I would run where the ball was going to be. I was like, this is no good, man. Chasing people all over the field.
Dude, they used to put
You have
my
to
butt in the
explain.
goalie when I was a kid, man, and I couldn't take it because my team sucked so bad.
Oh, you get shelled.
So somebody kicked the ball at me, and I just took it as a goalie all the way upfield and scored. I was like, wish I would have got that on film.
Probably need to explain
Nice.
that Wayne Gretzky analogy.
Oh, yeah. So we were talking earlier about the Wayne Gretzky analogy as it ties to business. And as I said, I don't even know if it's a true story, but it was told to me, so I believe it. So they asked Wayne Gretzky, hey, how did you get to score so many more goals as, the rest of your peers? And he said, well, while they were skating to where the puck was, I would skate to where I thought the puck was going to be at, and therefore be in scoring position and open and not in the big crowd. And as it ties to business, as we're talking about, that you have to always be looking where are things going.
That's really cool. Just hopefully in actual hockey that everybody doesn't do that because that would be really weird to watch.
The puck just going down by itself.
Yeah, all by itself. I think everybody's thinking it's going to be somewhere else.
It'd also be weird seeing a hockey goalie take it all the way down.
Yeah.
So bad.
Oh, that's funny. So thank you for sharing all that with us. Maybe you could share with us a little bit on how you got your start in the pool industry.
Yeah. Strictly by accident. So like probably a lot of people. I don't think there's a lot of people that are growing up saying, you know what, I want to be a pool guy. Maybe now with you guys, it's
Just our kids.
Yeah, just our kids. Maybe you guys are changing things with your podcast and get some younger people listen to it. But
hopefully.
I was very happy. Graduated high school barely. C average student, and I was working for a manufacturing company doing like janitorial type stuff after school, and that kept with my beach bum lifestyle in the day. Go 4:00, do your 4 hours and have your gas money and that type of stuff. So the company one day said, hey, we're going to move, 20 miles away. And, you want to work for us? Like, not for $4.25 an hour. I don't, This is way back in like 1985, by the way. So that was a lot of money back then, or it was actually decent for somebody that age. And so I went to this job placement thing called the Career Development Center. And I remember they came to our high school and they taught people how to fill out applications and, how to conduct yourself in an interview. And so I had to sit through a week class of that in order to get the job leads. And so there's this pool cleaning jobs like, well, they start at 6 a.m. Yeah, scratch that, And then there was this other opening out by the San Diego airport for a company called Marriott Host. And I think they're like a fulfillment, or they do restaurant stuff or, support. So I went to interview with them and thought I had a pretty good interview. And the lady says, so do you work on air conditioners? Like, no, like I don't. It's like, oh, well, that's what the job was for. Oh, Well, looks like I wasted
all of our time.
Yeah, it's an hour of my life when we'll get back. So on the way back, it's like, well, there's this pool cleaning company. It's on the way back. I'll at least go check it out. It's on the way home. So I drive to the place, and the guy literally shows up in a pool truck, and it's like, "Are you here for the job? Can you start tomorrow?" Like, yeah, and yes, let's go.
That's the pool industry.
That's it. And so
somebody showed up for the intervierv. Yes,
I know. You're hired. The guy has a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it's the end of July. This is fantastic.
Oh, exactly.
Yes.
You got friends?
I know. So I worked for this company for about 2.5 years, and my boss decided to sell his route. I mean, he had enough. It's like a lot of pool guys. And in that 2.5 years I worked for him, now this is like 1985, he would always rotate the routes like, every 6 months. So he'd keep everybody on their toes. And then he decided to sell the route. Now, after a while, he had me doing the billing, which I totally hated.
Really?
It's like, dude, I don't want to be in an office all day long.
Yeah,
but but it was really good experience doing that. And so I helped him sell the route. And then he, part of the deal is, I will sell you a route. You can pay it back in 5 years. Like 5 years, I'll pay it back in 2 years. Let's do this. And this is back when I was, a lot younger and more eager. And sure enough, bought it on a handshake, paid it off in 2 years. And I vowed not to hire any employees. I thought, I'm just going to do my thing, be done at 12, go to the beach, hang out, continue that lifestyle. But hired my first employee about 10 months into it. And now here we are, 34 years later.
So I'm kind of curious, why did you not want to be a part of the pool bit? Why didn't that sound exciting to you in the beginning? We're like, pool company, I don't want anything to do with that.
You have to you have to start at 6 a.m.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, that was cutting into my surfing.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was it. And again, knew nothing about it too. So
right. Maybe you can talk with us a little bit about that first year and when you actually started to really take it serious. I mean, you said, 10 months in, you hired somebody. Why did you kind of start to take it a little bit more serious?
The game plan was not to hire anybody, not to have to deal with employees, and just have more control over your own schedule and the whole thing. I guess a lot of people can identify this. It's a rush when you get a new account. Like, wow, somebody called me and I gave them a bid and they accepted it. Like, that's pretty cool. Then you get another one. Hey, how would you like to do 4 properties for us? And it's like, wow, to this day, it's still a great feeling. Like, hey, we got a new account. That's friggin' awesome. And so then I had to hire a new person. So I had some experience dealing with the employees, from my other job. And, when you're a 2-man band, it's a whole different dynamic because you guys, the employee and the employer, you see each other every day and you become friends and almost like a family because you're working side by side, and it's a whole different thing. And to fast forward to like today, we have about 22 employees. It's, we'll do some stuff socially here and there, but it's like, all right, 5 o'clock, I'm out of here. Can't wait to get out of here and start my job and, do whatever we got to do, so it's just a different dynamic.
Yeah. Who's your first hire? Was it another service tech or a mechanic or somebody that works in the office?
It totally wasn't. Ironically, it was a kid I found from the Career Development Center.
Oh, really?
So that was where people would go to look for jobs. And I thought, hey, if I came from there, let's just go, let's start with that. And so I did. And there was some kid that was looking for a job and it worked out great he worked for me for a couple of years. Really good guy.
Oh, nice. So he was cleaning pools as well.
Yeah, cleaning pools and eventually doing filters and that type of stuff. And I tell you, as you guys know, when you have a pool business like a service route, it's tough and it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude. And this one guy, solid guy, anybody would be proud to have him. But every year he would say, hey, listen, I know that when you hired me, there's no vacations in the summertime, but I'm involved with my church and we do this church retreat every July for a week. And I can't be here. It's like, so for about 2 seasons, I had to do my route and his route, plus the paperwork, plus deposits, plus the repair work because he was gone. I thought, hey, my life's going to be miserable for a week, but the rest of the year, this guy's such a great guy. It'll work out great.
Right. Thank you. What was really the progression of the business? Because we know that you do a ton of things, being a part of, IPPSA and, you're trying to, kind of eliminate a lot of these, this sort of underground world of people not conducting business correctly in the state of California. At what point did you start doing more research on, okay, I need to have this license and I need to be a part of these groups, and why was that important to you? How did you know about it? How were you educating on yourself? Because that was 30 years ago? You started at 87?
Yeah. And, but my changing started about 20 years ago. So like, for example, I've done a lot of volunteering with IPPSA, done a lot of different positions and different capacities over my time. But for the first 9 years, I was a guy that just sat in the back, just like, wow, we're going to have our meeting and we'll have pizza and vendors will come in and do their thing. And so if you think about it, for 9 years, this just wasn't even on my radar. Say I'm happy doing my thing and, getting that rush of new customers and life was, pretty good and pretty simple. And so I guess after a while, as you hear people talking about professionalism and contractor's license, like, you know what? Yeah, it's time. And so I got my license. Oh gosh, I forgot when it was, but I'm probably 10, 15 years into my business. And
contractor's license?
Yeah, exactly. Because in San Diego, there's no requirement to have a contractor's license or barely even a business license. And so I thought, well, hey, if I'm going to kind of take it to the next level, then that's one thing you got to do. And as you start learning more, it's like, hey, wait a minute. There's these other good pool companies out there. And like, what do you got to do to be that guy? And how do we go from point A to point B if the vision is let's make things better? And really kind of reinforced a lot of those things was recession. We get to 2008, and I remember talking to my service manager. We had like a ton of commercial properties back then, and we're starting to get lowballed. Like, okay, hey, we really like what you guys do, but owners are looking at cost, and this guy's 30% less. Can you cut your price? And we all saw this coming, like every person on the planet. We're talking like, hey, what do we do here? Do we cut price and retain customers, or what do we do? He says, now, you know what? We have to preserve the way we do things because we're on a path to try to be professional, and we can't be professional if we're like the discount pool company. And so we held our guns in those early years of the recession. In 1 year, we lost about 100 commercial properties, and that was like a big hit.
Wow.
But at the same time, because we started saying, no, this is kind of where we want to go. At the same time, that same year, we picked up a lot of residential stuff in really nice, affluent neighborhoods. We just started accepting that. And so around that time, we had this really big shift where before we used to probably be about 80% commercial. And it was like, all right, we're going to go clean pools and filters and do all the repairs and have all that that goes with it. To like, hey, we're here to serve our customer. We're here to offer a better product. We're here to do a better job for them. We're here to be a resource. And the only way we can do that is to elevate our game and be as professional as we can in everything that we do.
That's really cool. I think a lot of people need to hear that. I mean, you need to have all your ducks in a row, because it's just a matter of time before something happens again.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that's going to happen tomorrow, next month, next year. You don't really ever know what's going to happen in the economy. But when it does happen, you want to make sure that you've positioned yourself and positioned your company with having all the licenses and the certificates, and you've taken all the training. That way, yourself and your team can kind of get through, those really hard times.
Yeah, definitely. And in the last, 30 some odd years, we've probably been to 3 or 4 recessions. This last one was the biggest one, but a new person coming up right now, like if you started your business today and it's a really hot economy, people are building pools and people are spending money, you think it's going to be like this all the time. And things change, and I mean, just think about the effect of 9/11. Just in one day, boom, the world changes and everything kind of fell apart, and it was a kind of a rough time. And so how do you deal with that when we have the next catastrophe or the next crash or the next thing? You want to be in a good position. You want to be where that puck's going to be.
Right.
This episode of the Pool Chasers podcast is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is your business's command center. The easy-to-use app powers your sales, operations, customer service all in one place. If you want to check them out, go to getjobber.com/poolchasers to receive 20% off your first 6 months.
So we're also excited. Jobber and Dirt Monkey University have partnered to bring a 2-day, one-of-a-kind live event to Atlanta, Georgia, August 23rd and 24th. And it's aimed at entrepreneurs who recognize that reaching your maximum potential requires 360 degrees of total commitment.
So you may ask yourself, what is this exactly? Well, it's a 2-day event to create a complete blueprint for your future. That's the mission of Impact Live. Immerse live training that will give you specific tools and advice to massively grow your service business and your personal life.
And this is not your typical business seminar. Impact Live will be looking at every area of an entrepreneur's life, inside and outside of their business, and peeling away layers to reveal their full potential and their most ambitious goals.
So, we all really like to be motivated, and there's an incredible lineup of speakers. So that includes industry experts, different types of motivational speakers, business coaches, and authors ready to give you the tools you need to massively grow your business in a meaningful way. When you attend Impact Live, you will walk away with a complete blueprint for your future.
So if you want to find out more and buy tickets, you can go to goimpactlive.com, look up #GoImpactLive. There's a ton of stuff on social media going on right now. And we'll say this again, it's in Atlanta, Georgia, this August 23rd and 24th. Hope to see you guys there.
If you started a pool company like from scratch tomorrow with what you know right now, just starting tomorrow from scratch, what are some of the first steps that you would take with what you know?
I think, if I was going to start a business from scratch, I would look, I tell you, I'm going to kind of answer it two ways, like what I would do and kind of what I'm doing, because I always kind of try to take time to take a step back and see what's going on. And, like right now, there's a lot of things going on. Like the internet has changed a lot of things. The technology, the cellular phones, iPhones and Droids and that stuff. So it's really a whole different thing. So if I was to do something right now, I would try to learn everything I can. I think also, too, people forget that you don't just roll up out of bed and are well versed at this. Keep in mind, before I started doing anything kind of, let's say, quote unquote, professionally, I was doing this for 9 years.
Right.
And before I thought, hey, maybe I should get up there and I should maybe contribute a little bit. Like all these guys are volunteering. Maybe I should volunteer to do the newsletter or something like that for a chapter. So you have to kind of put your time in. So you can't, I think that if you think I'm going to start a business and be successful, man, you've got a lot of learning to do, and you just have to kind of get out there and just do it and get some experience under your belt. But if you were to do that and you figure you got to give yourself a couple of years, but align yourself with good quality people. Find people that can maybe mentor you or show you the way. Because people will gladly, take you under the wings. I've taken a lot of people under my wings, but it's like, hey, look, go get licensed. Hey, go do this. Go take this course. And you got to put the time in. And that's just all there's to it if you want to do it. And if you just want to have it be a hobby, then just, clean pools and skim and go do your thing. Go surfing.
Yeah.
But if you really want to be serious about it, you have to be involved. It's almost like 24/7, like you do your job, do it well, and be around the top people and learn as much as you can.
Right. I think that's really good advice, is what you said in the beginning, paying close attention to consumer behavior and knowing, okay, it's not just cleaning pools. I want to make sure that I understand where the times are at.
Sure.
Do I need a website? Oh, do I need to be on Yelp? Is that something I want to be a part of? Do I need to, set up Google Analytics for my website? What is my geographic location? How far do I want to drive? Paying close attention to that, kind of mapping out the best plan you can first. And then how being patient, I think that is huge. And I think it's getting more difficult for everybody in this world, is having the patience to learn things. I know we didn't have much of a choice, but I think we were pretty patient with that. But it got to a point to where we got too busy and we didn't get enough time to learn as much as we wanted to. And I think that's major, is just taking the time and like staying focused in one area. It's like filter cleans, get those dialed in and know everything there is to know about DE and cartridge and sand, regardless of what your preference is, even, the manufacturers. Because in a perfect world, you'll just see the filter you like by the manufacturer you like, but that is definitely not how it is.
No, definitely.
You're going to be in a million backyards with a ton of different setups, and they're going to be mixed match. There's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff that you see and it might work. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not the right thing to do to charge somebody, $1,000 to put in something because it, is easier for you.
Yeah, definitely. And you really have to look at every system on an individual basis. And what is the best product for this? What brand, and especially when you deal with automation variable speed pool pumps, and everything's getting really kind of super technical. But you have to know all the different product lines. But yeah, it's, kind of getting back to advice. It's when we look back, like I've got a repair tech, a service tech, Chang, that wants to step up and do repairs. And it's like, look, man, if you're doing this for the ego because you think it's glorious, then the motivation's wrong. If you want to do it because you want to grow professionally and you want to challenge yourself, then let's go. But I promise you, you will have a lot of bad days.
Oh,
and
for sure.
and you know what? I've had a lot of bad days too. And but you got to persevere, and you have to have that intestinal fortitude to, when you show up and you're doing a job, you don't have that one part, or you're changing the drain cover, you're underwater, you don't have that one screw. I mean, yeah, we've all been there. We've all done that, and you just dust yourself off and figure it out,
Were you good at running into problems and fixing those problems? Because we talk about this all the time, that it seems like people keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. It's like, a little kid that doesn't learn from their mistakes. It's making that mental note. We know things are really crazy out there and you're really busy, but, actually taking the time to mess up when you're in the field and making a mental note or physically writing it down or on your phone and just saying like, hey, this was a problem. Maybe I should keep extra screws on me. I should keep extra O-rings on me. Maybe da-da-da-da-da. Because sometimes you're just like, you don't think about it. You just keep moving, but then it happens again and again and again. It's like, when will you learn?
Well, sure. Like for example, this kid, he showed interest in wanted change drain covers. Okay, cool. I met him on a job. Got my air compressor with my pneumatic drill, just in case something goes wrong. I got an array of stainless steel screws. I've got multiple 8-inch drain covers, and we have everything right there. And of course, the regulator and the breathing tank and the whole thing. And I probably spent about an hour before he even got in the water of like, here's the things that can go wrong. And he went in, did it 10 minutes. Like, didn't that look easy? It's like, yeah, because you were prepared for everything. So fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, we sent him out to do 2 drain covers. The first one had the wrong one. Second one did the drain cover on the wrong property. So we're busting his chops. Now, the thing is, we're not going to get mad. We're just going to deal with it. But it's like that kid learned a valuable lesson. And that's after being told for 1 hour, these are the things that go wrong. You got to be observant of these things. And to answer your question, yeah, I learned real quick to pay attention to all the little nuances. Because when you're putting a system together and you have all that, how many 1/2-inch couplers do I need? How many, is this 2-inch or 1.5 inch? And, is it copper? Is it PVC? Or what kind of glue do I need? And you have to really be observant.
It was very hard, I think, for us to implement. Even the guys that would be on our team, you're like, I don't need to carry all that. I'm like, yeah, you do need to carry all
totally.
that. Why are you saying, I'll just make another trip? I don't want you to make another trip. Like, you making another trip costs us more money.
Sure.
Like, I'd rather have the inventory on the van. That way it's there and you can just do the job. Well, I don't need all this stuff on there. Well, yeah, you may not need it for 2 of the jobs, but that 3rd job, you're going to need this part. And why not have it with you? And then you can fix it and you have everything, you're prepared. Otherwise, like, what? But that was hard for them, like, mentally. Even with our, like, service manager at the time, it was like, he couldn't understand it, comprehend, like, why we wanted to do it that way and why we wanted to have that vehicle stocked with these certain things. Because they would always pull stuff off the van. I'm like, why is this stack here? Why is a stack of everything sitting here? Oh, because it's too much on the van and we don't want it on the van. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. Is what if you go to that job and that job actually just happens to have a motor that went out and you can take that motor and fix it right there and we made that money like that.
Oh, totally.
And that's like what they didn't see, the big picture of it. It's like, oh no, I'm just working on this one little thing. I only need these parts. Well, what if you get there and there's other problems and you can fix those? And then you made one trip and you made more money. It's all that mentality just is hard for some people to overcome.
And the reality is you're never going to always have everything. That's just how it's going to be. But, put some effort into what can go wrong here. Like, take 5 minutes and say, do I have everything? What if it's this? What if it's that? And, you try to be as prepared as possible. And again, like, as I said, you're not always going to be 100% prepared, but, put an effort into it, and because you're right, that extra trip, it's not just, it's going to take you 20 minutes to drive across town. Now you got to wait in line for a half hour. And next thing you know, you could have done 2 or 3 jobs had you taken a little bit of time to organize yourself.
Yeah, we started to sit down every morning with the repair guy and go over each job, and we implemented that after we had Jobber, and we would take the pictures of each one. So when I would do the bids, I'd take the pictures and we'd have the pictures and go every morning over with the repair tech, and then he would figure out his parts list. And most of the time that was like, 95% accurate, because we would actually prepare for those jobs, have him prepared for those jobs, and then we would order those parts. So that worked out really well towards, the last 2 years we were doing things.
And now, like with technology today, we've got a digital photo of every job that we go to. And so if we're going to just go do an estimate, hey, do you mind if I take a picture of your equipment too? Because if you call me in 5 years, I want to know what you have in your backyard.
Right.
But back in the day, prior to cell phones and technology, I would have a Polaroid camera and just have a stack of cartridges.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I would take a picture of the equipment and a picture of the pool, and I'd staple to the folder. And so if you could dig through our archives, I've still got all these old Polaroids paper clipped or stapled to files. Because
dude, you got to send us some.
Yeah, you got to make like a freaking portrait out of them, dude. That'd be awesome.
We'll have to put that up on our social media. So back in the day,
so these cartridges are dirty. No, it's just the patina that's on the film. It's I swear to God, look at this one. It's even worse.
Hey, they were clean 6 years ago, or 20 years ago.
It's like black and white, man. Everything looks clean.
It does capture the mood, though. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's crazy thinking about, even Kyle, when he came from auto body and he had his toolbox, and he brought his toolbox to the shop when he started as a service manager.
Yeah.
But in talking with him, he accumulated all these tools over time. And that's kind of the mindset that you need to be in as either an owner, manager, technician, is that when you run into a problem or you run into, you're working on something that needs a special tool, mechanics, especially I worked on the base, and it was like the most sought after, mechanics were the ones with like, especially the journeyman that had the most dialed in toolbox, because no matter what problem would happen when that vehicle got to their phase in the line, they had the right tool for that job. And I can't think of one thing. I mean, I can't believe how many things were in Kyle's toolbox. Oh, yeah. Like literally, and he had a story for everything that ever came through, where it'd be like, oh, this problem, he'd be like, yep, got a tool for that. I remember the time I had to buy that tool because it came up, didn't have the tool, and I had to go get it. And I think that has a lot to do with us. And it's so much easier to think about how you can prepare yourself when maybe you're at the office, opposed to being in the field and you're just pissed off, you're frustrated. Like, why don't I ever have ship?
Dogs barking at you. You got to take a leak. Sun's beating down.
Yeah. It's like, idiot. This has happened to you like 20 times in like the last month. When will you learn? I am telling you, like, it's crazy to think that you would be better off running into a problem, going to the hardware store, buying that tool, and that stays in there. So the next time that happens, that's what happens here. Every time something would happen around here, it's like, need a hammer. I can't believe I don't have a freaking hammer in here. Yeah. Run out there, get it.
Keep it on your truck.
I have a toolbox in my office. You know what I mean?
Do you guys know what a Pete's plug is? No?
I think I've heard the name, but I don't know.
Plug?
No, I don't.
It's an old historical tool. So way back in the day, and by the way, I would go to every class I'd get my hands on. I look back and at all the certificates I've gotten over the years, they're just in a big pile. I don't put them up on the walls. It's not my thing. But
you have enough frames for that?
No, I just got this box going through them. But like you go back, it's like when you start to tabulate. Oh yeah, that was like $98 in 2 days, and that was $150 or whatever. It's like it adds up. But so. At the Teledyne Lars school, they used to teach you how to check the temperature rise, and you take a plug off of the header and put this brass plug in there with the looks like a turkey thermometer, and that's called a Pete's plug, and it gets the temperature reading. Well, anyhow, we're talking this is 1998 or 95. We're doing this stuff, and we get a warranty call from Janet and say, "Hey, we need you to take a temperature rise of this heater." And now me and my guys that have been with me around time, repair guys are going to go out and do it. It's like, who's got a Pete's plug? It's like, I don't. I go, I got like 2 or 3 in this yellow toolbox on the shelf over here. Go find it. And they found it. Like, son of a gun. How the hell did you know that's
awesome.
We had it there. And it's like, so I saw it laying, they brought it back and be sure bring my Pete's plug back. Don't be losing that. And I'm not in the field anymore, but it's like, I knew, don't get rid of that thing. Cause they're going to stop making them or who knows what, but the time will come. And sure enough, it did. So we'll probably revisit another 20 years.
Dude, that's funny.
We even created a specific filter clean box, because it wasn't really the repair van going out to do those all the time. And Kyle, me and Greg sat down and figured out like these 29 parts or whatever it was that we needed in this box. And, you know, it was O-rings, band clamps, filter nuts, washers, all that stuff that could go wrong with a filter. We wanted every single piece in that box. So every, you know, fitting, everything you needed to do those filter cleans, like, was in that box. And then I remember like giving it to our guys, and they were like, I don't need all this. I'm like, come on, man.
Rookie.
I'm like, yeah, rookie. Yeah. You do need all this. And like, they would just like, oh, I got this tool, I'm good. I'm like, no, you're not good. Because the time comes, you need to replace those grids, or you need to do that, and you're not going to have that part, and then you're not going to do it right. I know you.
Yeah.
You're not going to go up to the store right now and run down and get that part. You're just going to piece it back together and make it makeshift work. I don't want it to makeshift work.
Yeah.
I want it to work exactly how it's supposed to work, you know, and that was, but that took some time. You know, you got to figure out, okay, well, what's every problem we've encountered, all three of us combined cleaning filters, and what can we put in this box? And then we just kept adding to it. Yeah. Stainless steel, you know, washer, stuff like that. It's like, you know, everything you need to put in this box that can go wrong so that you can handle it.
Well, see, and to that point, if you're going to be a professional, quote unquote, be a professional, be prepared, have all those things, anticipate problems, and it'll save you time. Or be that guy that's out there running around all pissed off and aggravated and coming home late because he didn't have that one little screw or what have you. And, you know, it's a choice.
Oh, buddy, we got a special announcement here.
Yes, we do.
So our friends at Jandy are crushing it with their push to quit the internet.
Crushing it.
We recently made a special trip to San Diego to see their new facility, which is amazing. But most importantly, to get an update on their progress with catching online violators. We had the opportunity of sitting in on their enforcement meeting, and let me tell you, this was taken a lot more seriously than we thought it would. They showed us a chart of violations and, you know, their progress from January till now. They're at 82% attainment of compliance, meaning from day one when they started policing and enforcing to today, they have reduced the number of Jandy violations online by 82%.
It's simple. The customer wants to go online and save a few dollars by purchasing their equipment online. This is something that we've all gone through as service professionals, and Jandy's heard the cry. They've taken a stand, and they've supported our industry. They understand that only a qualified pool professional should work around electrical, gas, and hydraulic connections. I mean, have you even seen a customer work with that kind of stuff?
I have, and it's not pretty.
Definitely not pretty. You know, Jandy's warranty will not cover any Jandy equipment that is not purchased, installed, and or serviced by a pool professional. This will save you guys time and money by allowing you to avoid those awkward conversations with your customer and let you focus on the part of the business that you do best. If you want to find out more details, listen to episode 31 of the podcast or go to jandy.com/builtstrong. That's jandy.com/builtstrong.
And I don't want to pass over the education part so fast because I think that's an important piece. Because at the end of the day, it's not about all those certificates that you got. I mean, that's really important. But I feel like the most important thing is that you went there and you became more educated on how to program, install, all the different things that you need to do. But how did you make the best of training? Because I think people don't understand, you know, the full value. Because I even think that the networking piece of it with other professionals, because if you're in a class with 20, 30 other people, those are probably 20, 30 other people that you might want to build some relationships with because they have similar, company values. And if you want to become better, like you should hang out, like Tyler's dad always said, you want to be a millionaire, you hang out with millionaires.
Right.
Like, don't go hang out with your scumbag friends because, you know, they're being a bad influence and you can go down that same road. But also, you know, people that are teaching the class, maybe you don't, you know, you're not the kind of person that asks the questions in the class, but build up that relationship to where maybe you can get their phone number and you can ask more questions and keep going to those classes. So I think there's just so much more than just, you know, checking in at, 8 a.m., putting in your time and then checking out. There's so much more to it than that.
Well, you know, it's you guys had Rich Gallo on who's talked about the book Outliers, and he talks about putting your 10,000 hours. Definitely, I mean, I've definitely put in my time, definitely made a ton of mistakes, definitely learned from them. And I tell you, the way people learn now is totally different. And it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing. Back in the day, when I was starting my business, it was like you went to the Taldine Lars Heater School, you went to the Ray-Pack School, you went to the Western Pool Spa Show. You had all these opportunities that came up. And then, I remember like with the Taldine Lars Heater class, the first time I took that class, and we're learning about millivolt heaters. This is before the electronic ignitions came out, or they're just coming out. there was a lot of the millivolt ones out there, and we learned about those. And so I remember leaving that class going, my God, I feel comfortable just lighting a pilot light. There's so much to learn. But then throughout that first year, then you go out lighting pilot lights. Okay, I lit a pilot light. Nothing bad happened. This is cool. Then you come back. Now you got a couple questions. Well, okay, now what was that they were talking about? That pressure switch or that height limit, which was, what are they set for? What that's all about? And then I would keep going back year after year. Now we're talking over the span of a couple of decades, and then going back and applying it, and then making mistakes and learning from them, and being on hold and calling all those tech lines, and just like we all do, and yeah, you learn. But the thing is, I knew, hey, it's kind of funny. When I started my business, I thought, this will be a stepping stone to something else. I can't see myself doing this, forever. Who does this forever? And but honest God, man, I love this, and I don't know if it's that passion that I still have, that I still want to learn new things. I still want to challenge myself. I still want to make things better, And now I feel after all this time that I'm not that guy sitting in the back of the room for 9 years. Like, okay, let's help out with something else. What else can we do? But it's just kind of a different level of stuff now.
Right. I think some of us are drawn to this being just either your pool service provider or pool builder. Since there's so many issues going on in the industry, I think some of us really enjoy being a part of making something better. Because if we just walked into another industry that was already, for the most part, they had a trade program and it was already just dialed in, I feel like being part of the pool industry now, like it wouldn't be as exciting, because it's really cool being a part of, building it up and getting to meet people like yourself that have been putting in many, many years of, hard work and trying to make the industry, especially in your state, better than it's ever been.
Yeah. And likewise, and what you guys are doing is pretty cutting edge, pretty revolutionary, and it's like, wow, who does this? Whose idea was this? But this is pretty cool, because you guys are getting out to a broad audience, and you guys I've got a lot of momentum going, and I wish there was something like that.
So do we.
So did we.
I mean, this is fantastic. It would have saved me a lot of headaches. But you're right. Because the thing is, it's like you get exposure to a lot of really top people.
Yeah, but I think trying to cut out the excuses, it's kind of sad to think about some things when we first started, because you're talking about even 30 years ago, but 9 years in, you were doing some, more progressive stuff and getting licenses and things like that. But I think everybody just needs to do a little bit better of a job in researching some of this stuff and prioritizing your day better, because I think it really comes down to that. You think not being prepared on that job, it's whatever, I just have to do this and that. You keep doing that, your day gets extended by an hour. And then you go into the office, and because you're not prepared there, you get extended an hour. And because of all of that, you weren't able to go take that training, or you weren't able to take time to Google, what are the best steps in being a pool service provider in Scottsdale, Arizona. You can't do all those things because you're too busy, making these mistakes. And it's critical to make mistakes. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the only way I personally learn. I've probably made 100 mistakes, but by the time you got here, but it is what it is. It's just about the person that is willing to, fix those mistakes and become better from it.
As we said earlier, it's a choice. You got to decide, what do you want to do? And if this is your choice, then do it. Kind of going back to my mother, who had to bring us up together. I said, hey, I've got this opportunity to buy this pool route, and what do you think? And we're in the backyard by the trash cans talking and having that really defining moment. I didn't know it was about to happen, but again, growing up with smart brothers and sisters, and it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, well, I've got this opportunity to buy this pool route. I don't got the money, but I can buy it on time. And so, hey, listen, man, I don't care what you do. Just whatever you do, try to be the best at it. And that rang like a bell. It's like, you know what? That's it. So a lot of that inner voice is still there, and it just still drives me to not look at, like, okay, the pool industry, like the mental image is you got a guy in a truck with flip flops and a surfboard or a dog in his car, and he's off cleaning pools and what have you. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Bad News Bears, the coach,
the old one or the new one?
The old one.
Walter Matthau.
There's a new one.
Yeah, no, old one's way better.
Yeah, and so there's this stigma, there's this mental model that a lot of people have, and it's like, okay, well, why does it have to be that way? Why can't it be like a real profession, like a plumbing company or a heating AC company? And why not? Like, just why not? Like, so what do we got to do? How do we conduct ourselves? What do we got to know? Do we need to start carrying pizza plugs on our trucks now? And in a sense, kind of change the perception. Like, as I said, it's a choice. You can say, hey, I can be that Walter Matthau guy, or I can really step it up and align myself with quality people and try to see how we can make this industry better. Because in the end, we all benefit from it.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Before we move on, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about your team a little bit, because I know you had mentioned to me on the phone, like Rich said his team was the best, but you wanted to talk about yours.
Well, I'm gonna get in a competition with Rich over here. So we got some really good people. Well, okay, so in our business, we primarily do service and repair. That's our wheelhouse. It's our bread and butter. So I got to start with my serviceman, Rocky, who's been with us over 15 years. This guy is a super, super sharp guy. When he started working for us, he was a long hair, playing in like a thrash metal band and, going to college, and actually got his college degree, which is something I don't have. The time came where, he was at a crossroads, and things were changing at work. And in the history of our company, we've not done two things the same way. Like, no 2 years are alike. And we were flying out to the Aqua Show, just him and I. We got a chance to talk, like, hey, what do we want to do here? And, we were pretty inspired with the show when we came back. And I said, look, I'm going to, when we come back, you're going to be the new service manager. We've never had one, but you're going to be it. And if I'm going to put you in this position, you're going to have hiring and firing privileges, and you can fire whoever you want, and you can hire whoever you want. I'm going to support you. And sure enough, we came back and we had a shakeout, because a lot of people didn't like that. Hey, I've been here longer. Why is he? And it's like, well, the guy's got a college degree, and it's like, and you don't, and he's got more initiative, and you don't, and what have you. So we went through some pretty turbulent times there, but we stuck to our guns, and he just embraced the position. So now, fast forward to today, if you can imagine, like every service company out there, if you got someone that can meet all your service guys and make sure they have the resources they need, so you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to hear about, hey, someone left the water on, or, someone didn't show up to work. It's like, hey, that's your baby. You handle it. And so, super, super smart guy. I think his claim to fame with Greg Garrett is he was the first person in the country to pass the startup class with 100%.
Yeah. Greg told me that.
Then Greg has his new class coming out with the water chemistry class. Aced it again, 100%.
First 100% on that.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's just so it starts with that. And plus, one of the things about being an entrepreneur like myself is you come back with crazy ideas. You go out and you think about something, you read a book, or you hear a story about a hockey puck, and you come back, all right, we're going to do this now, and very supportive. And so, and at the same time, summers are tough for us, even in San Diego. If there's a staffing issue, I just know that he's got that intestinal fortitude to just make it happen, and it makes my life easy.
Yeah, I actually saw him in the Arenda video that you guys did. He had the Taylor test kit, and I made a note of just how professional he looked.
Yeah.
It was there's quite a few that look professional out there, but I think down to the boots, pants, tucked in belt, polo shirt, clean cut, had the Taylor kit. That is one of the first times I saw it, and I was like, that is exactly what we need across the board.
Sure.
You see that's what you want in your backyard.
Totally. And you always hear about, hiring people that are better at whatever task than you are. And certainly he's hands down way smarter at the stuff than I am. And it's kind of funny when I'm on a job site, I'll take a water sample, and it's like, I'll take it back down. Hey, can you check this, please? Because, I'm too ADD to sit there and do a calcium hardness test. It's like, I got Rocky right there. Very spoiled, but guy totally is just embraces what we're doing and the whole thing. And then, we've got our service techs. We've got about 10 service techs, just a lot of good guys out there. And on the repair side, we've got Chris that runs our repair department, and he's at Mission Control taking the calls and doing the scheduling. But our techs, Mike, and Greg and Graham, super, super guys. Now, Mike, he and I grew up in the same neighborhood. We're 10 years apart. And my first memory of him is looking out the window. It's like, who's this kid on a big wheel in front of my house? Like, who do these new kids think they are,
Yeah.
And we just always, kind of just always got along. He's pretty much worked for me pretty much his whole adult life. And I don't know, his nickname's the King, and to try to get him to do something to challenge him a little bit, it's, my secret. It's like, hey, Mike, never mind. You probably couldn't figure this out. What is it? What is it? No, it's probably over your head. No, what is it? What is it? It drives him nuts. But the guy is an all-star. And then Greg has been with us, 9-10 years or so. And he comes from New Jersey, and he's been doing pools as long as I have. He's just an old school repair guy, and it's kind of nice, when we're talking about Pete's plugs. He's like, oh yeah, I used to have one, but I don't know. And Graham,
just made his day.
Totally.
Woo, yeah,
totally.
Bring him back.
And then Graham's just a all-star guy as well too, and has been with their company several years, and just really quality people. So when they go out on a job site, they interact with customers. They know how to handle customers, and sometimes you got to tell someone, hey, you got to spend some money on this thing that's broken or what have you. They're just really respectful people, and the whole thing, and been with me a long time.
Very cool. Do you teach them those things, or are you looking for those traits when you're kind of hiring people?
Totally look for those traits. So for example, in Mike's case, he'd probably laugh. I like to tell him, I like to say that I've taught him everything he knows, but the guy he was just like me, just a sponge. And now it's like, I can't even, hold a candle. The guy's just a master technician. And now keep in mind, he's been doing this all day long for years and years and years, and been around a lot of stuff. And, but to your point, yeah, we hire for not necessarily for skill, we hire for attitude. And so if you've got someone with a good attitude and it's just got the right stuff, they're gonna do well with us. And a lot of times, we make mistakes in hiring. Sometimes we think someone's got what we need, and they just fall apart. And when things get tough, and it's we don't have all the right answers, and labor is probably one of the biggest challenges for a lot of companies. And for us, we just over the years have built a really good team. And if people aren't of that caliber, they just don't make it.
Sure. Thank you.
We want to take a second to get to know our sponsor, MPT, a little bit better. So we're very excited to talk to MPT product manager, Summer Wynn. Summer, I've always wondered what differentiates a box door tile from a pool tile.
What differentiates pool tile from any tile you get from a big box store or such is, first of all, because we sell pool tile on a national level in different climates, our pool tile needs to be frost resistant. So this is getting a little technical, but the water absorption rate needs to be at 0.5% or less. It also needs to be, the glaze needs to be acid and chemical resistant. That's one of the features that makes tile pool tile. And at the same time, because pools are spec'd on the water line at 6 inches, sizing is a key factor in pool tile. We put a lot of thought into the design and the suitability of the tile for pool installation.
Thank you, Summer. If you want to find out more, click the link below in the write-up or go to mptpool.com. And don't forget to follow MPT Pool Products on Instagram and Facebook for the latest photos and product information.
Yeah, well, speaking of Rocky, Greg Garrett had told me that he was the first person to get, the 100% on there. And you had mentioned earlier that, Greg's helped you out a few times over the years, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And Greg, honest God, he's a treasure to our industry. I don't want to make it sound like I'm kissing up or whatever, but when you're out on a job and you come across weird stuff, and you have to, the relationships we built over time really come to really help us out here. So to set the stage up, we're doing this service on this customer's house, really high end pool, and it's that it's not pebble, but it's like glass beads. And it's got this blue cement base that holds it together. It looks really beautiful. And about a year or two into us doing the service work, the customer said, hey, my pool's turning red. It's like, what? Turning red? So I go look at it. And so I didn't sign the customer up. So this is my first time looking at this job. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is an amazing pool. Like, how can you not be happy with this? This is fantastic. And he shows me the interior surface and I go, it looks beautiful. Like, this is awesome. Perimeter overflow, spa, Pacific Ocean's on the other side of his glass over there. It's like, this is, what are you complaining about? He says, no, I'm telling you, it used to be blue. And so I'm looking at it. It's like, well, I got no basis to go off of. It's like, I don't know what this is.
You didn't have your Polaroid?
Yeah, I actually did. I said, hey, so I did the natural thing. Hey, call your pool builder. I don't know. It's not my problem, And then, of course, then call your plaster guy. And, of course, it always comes back. Well, you figure it out, So we had a lot of people look at it. And finally, we get Greg to come look at it. And Greg, in his fashion, if you've ever been on a job with him, he's very methodical, tests everything, looks at it, and everything's pretty much dialed in right on the money. And he says, hey, take this dental pick and I want you to take a spot and scrape it. It's all right, no big deal. So I do it. He says, what color is it underneath that red? Now, to give you an idea, the red was like brick red. So like if you look at an old Adobe brick building, that's kind of what it looked like. And it was supposed to be like a really dark blue. And so I scraped it. It's like, what color is it underneath? It's blue underneath. It's like, okay, we can fix it. It's like, what? Okay, all right. So we're doing the zero alkalinity thing, and I'm thinking, you know what, this is freaking me out, man, because this is high-end pool, and he's wanting to put like 10 gallons of acid in this thing and hold it, and had a conversation with the customers. Look, I am not comfortable doing this because if we ruin this, I don't want to be on the hook for it. So,
right.
So we've got a possible solution, but more importantly, we had a customer that was like, you know what, if I got to redo my pool, I'll redo it, but let's give this a shot. And so it's like, I got to do this one by myself. Like one of the things when I run my business, I'm not going to have anybody in my company do anything that I've never done or wouldn't do. So I said, look, we got to be out here 7 days a week, and it's just going to be a Saturday and Sunday, and it's the whole deal. So we do the zero alk. I'm talking to Greg every day. He's calling me. We gave him access to we have this app called Service Bridge where we take pictures. People can look at it immediately on the internet. So I gave him access to that. So we're doing, how about day one? What's going on? Nothing. Well, by day 4, something's going to happen. It's like day 2, nothing. 3, nothing. 4, oh my God, it's starting to break loose. I told you, right? Okay, keep on going. Keep doing this, keep doing that. And so, I go out there. Now we get to the Tuesday, which we're kind of like at the end of this process. And this stuff's brushing off. It looks like red dust coming off. And I come in the office about 8 o'clock and the phone's blowing up. It's like Arizona number. I don't know who this is, because I guess he had forgotten his phone. He was using his wife's phone. And so, I'm getting my day going, getting our guys set up, and the phone is just blowing up. Like, what is going on here? And so I finally like, Greg, what, like, dude, you're blowing my phone up. What's going on? So I figured it out. I know what this is. Like, really? Okay, well, just go to your computer and Google spirocobultite. It's like, all right. And he's just like having a field day. And so kind of getting back to this pigment that they use in cement, from what we learned is that there's organic and inorganic pigments. And the organics are the least costly, but they also fade out. So I'm thinking it has something to do with that. But we actually went back and found out that the people that did the interior surface actually did get the inorganic pigment, which was more money, and they used cobalt as a pigment for this. And so he's just like, just like a kid in a candy store. It's spirocobultite. You gotta Google this. So what in turn what had happened was, with this perimeter overflow and an ozone system and salt system, with that turbulence in the water, it was raising the pH. Now we're getting good readings because the readings were perfect when Greg looked at it, but that whole process turned the cobalt into spirocobultite. And so then the solution was, all right, so he's already now rebalanced the water. So hell no, I'm draining this thing because this is like red, milky water. Let's just start with fresh water. But then we put it on borates. We did an IntelliChem system. So it's got a chemical feeder that's keeping things maintained. Got rid of the saltwater system, and we got rid of the ozonator, and things been a champ ever since. And so that's one of those days where you think, what the hell am I doing, man? I just want to clean pools and go surfing. I'm not doing all the science stuff here, but I tell you that's just a testament to the relationships we built over time, and just how you never know when you're going to run into a problem. And it's nice that when you do that, you know who to reach out to.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. So we saw on your website that you offer 3 different service plans. We were really contemplating doing that at one time. How do those packages work for you?
With that hockey puck analogy, we've got to figure out, okay, when's the next recession coming? What do we got to do? How do we separate ourselves from the pack? I actually, talked to some of my customers. Hey, what do you like about what we do, and what don't you like? And someone told me, hey, you have to offer 3 different things, for chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. What do you want? So a lot of our customers were saying, well, I don't like it when I get a bill twice a year for cleaning my filter, and I don't like it when I get a conditioner bill. And if you just charge one guy, this is like perfect. The customer says, why don't you just charge him a little bit extra and just include that stuff? It's like, bong, there we go. This guy's onto something, which I know this isn't the most creative idea. A lot of people do this, but I think if you guys were thinking about it, you're probably taking a step back from your business, say, what can we do better? How can we maybe be more profitable? Or how can we set ourselves apart from the pack? And so we did that, and we really kind of went in some stuff. So we got, okay, here's what everybody else does. They do, they charge a monthly fee, and they charge extra for conditioner and the whole thing. And we thought, well, what if, we know how much conditioner a pool's going to take, as long as they don't have a massive leak. And they got a pump basket and a weir blade. And we know, like in an ideal world, replace that every year, but most people don't. And you show up on a job site, like, why is that pump basket like barely hanging on? What's going on with this? And wouldn't it be great if we could just replace it? So then that mid-level one is like, hey, the conditioner, the filter cleanings, the O-rings, the baskets, the weir blades, we're just going to put that in for you, and no charge, and the whole thing. And then the other one, we thought the next level up was like, all right, well, what if, and again, this is just thinking outside the box. What if, we included the motor when it broke down? And what if we included a heater? Let's just think outside the box. What would it cost to do that? So we actually started kind of running some numbers, and we figured, let's come up with the price with that. So for that one guy that just doesn't want to be bothered for anything, hey, my motor goes out, just replace it. We can offer that. Now, the reality is we don't got one of those customers yet, but we do have a lot of people in this this premium plan where, yeah, definitely. And it's like, I don't want to be hassled with all this stuff. Just run my card and let's go. And it's working out really good. And we've got some customers say, well, what if I just pay like a year in advance? It's like, what? All right. That sounds good, And so, but whatever you're doing, I think that those ideas come from taking a step back from your daily routine and try to figure out, hey, what do my customers want? Don't figure out what you think your customers want. Ask your customers when you're out there in the backyard, ask them, hey, can you give me some feedback? What do you think of this? Look at other industries, see what they're doing.
Yeah. And those things are just going to make it easier for you, because billing is probably so much easier when you're not, for one customer, it's like, okay, in 1 month, that's, $140 a month, and then tacking on this O-ring, and then it's filter clean month. And, we did this. It's like, you're tacking on all this stuff, but if it's just like filter cleans are included, maybe a basket, no ring, that really helps, especially when you have, hundreds of customers. That goes a long way.
It definitely makes things run smoother, because then you don't have to have that conversation with the customer, 90 days later, that hasn't paid for that weir blade. What's this for? So, come on, like, really? For sure. And so we kind of,
the other one needs the new one actually needs to be replaced again. You need to be charged for 2. That's why I'm calling.
Exactly. And so, but the thing is, if you think about how can we make things better, and not necessarily for us, but for the customer, because that one customer said, look, just charge me more and just include it. I'm cool with that. It's like, okay, I like where this is going. This is cool.
Yeah, we were going to really do that because I think it helped, like you said, it helps the billing tremendously, but also it helps the customers not feel like you're nickel and diming them. We always talk about, like, especially because our team, we would try to get them to, like, hey, when one thing breaks, like, inspect the whole system, because I don't want to, like, charge them for a basket and then next month charge them for an O-ring and then next month charge them for a weir door. like, look over the whole system, and they couldn't seem to do that all the time. So it always felt like we were giving away free crap because we had just charged them. Yeah, we had just charged them last month for 2 of these things. Now these other 2 things broke. Like, they're gonna feel like we're nickel and diming them. So just tell them to put them in there, and we'll pay for it.
Yeah,
and it's like that. All that could go away if we came up with a package that included all that. And we were about to that in January actually do that and implement that, but.
And we also kept learning so much more because we got to a point where we weren't cleaning pools anymore, but there was times when we did get back in, say after a retreat, because we had taken a day off and we had moved all the pools to another day, like we would cover an entire route. But every single time that we were out in the field again, it was really cool because we would always like learn something new, or we would have kind of like talking points for our training, because there was just, there's not one pool that we didn't go to that we couldn't pretty much pick apart and things that needed to be replaced.
And the other thing too that we pitch is being proactive, and that's one of the things that our customers say, well, how come the guy didn't tell me this was going out? So we try, and it is an undertaking, but we try to go out once a year to look at every pool and ride with the service guy and take pictures with our app and the whole thing. And then we give our customer a report. And my favorite story of this is a standard report. Hey, recommend a variable speed pool pump maintenance, recommend a heater maintenance, recommend, upgrading this. And we send it out to our, every customer. I remember this one customer, really high-end neighborhood. It's like, well, you're just trying to sell me something. It's like, look, do it or don't do it. Like, I don't care. Like, we're getting hundreds of these things out. We're just giving you suggestions. But the sweet part was, she went to go use her heater and didn't work. So, all right, send a guy out here, and we go out there, and it's like, the problem with your heater is you got rodents in here chewing up the wires. And now you need to clean it out and new wire harness kit, the whole thing. And she's all, well, you're my pool service company. How come I'm not hearing about this? So I get the phone call to go deal with it. And I had in my briefcase the piece of paper that says, recommend a heater maintenance. And I said, ma'am, we told you this last November, and you told us to get lost. Matter of fact, you thought I was ripping you off. And the look on her face was priceless when she's just fix it. And it's like, okay, ma'am. Yeah. Kind of strutting out, my chest popped up to the truck, like, right on.
Got you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, look, we're not out here to get you. We're here to provide a service, to give you recommendations, and to make your pool environment as best as it can be. But again, it's an undertaking to do that. And but if you can get ahead and be proactive, man, there's just money in every backyard for you.
I think it's all of our responsibility to paint a better picture for the customer of what's going to happen if you don't do this maintenance or you don't do this. Because I think sometimes that's not done the best way. And I think it's important for this scenario to paint the picture of, imagine you and your family on a, cool, December evening or something after dinner, and you want to go enjoy the spa. And, you go out there and you're trying to turn on the heater and it's not firing up. It's not doing what it needs to do. And everybody's excited that everybody had their hopes up, especially kids, that they're going to be able to go in the spa. And you're not going to do that. It's not happening that night because you got to call the pool guy.
It's a drag.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate because it's such a fun experience. It's a fun time. I know that I have a pool, and if my pool turned green and my daughters are, accustomed to using the pool in the summer or whatever, and then we go out there and it's, green, it's like, we can't swim. It's like, are you serious? Like, have a full on, meltdown.
Or worse, the look they give you when they have all their friends waiting for the birthday party to go swimming in the heated pool or what have you for that day. And your name is mud at that point.
Oh, yeah. It's like, Dad, aren't you a pool guy? Wow. How is pool turn green?
Exactly.
I think that this would be the last pool to turn green.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad, maybe we should get another company. Right?
That's awesome.
Hey, but like if you look at like a pool heater, and again, going back to the days where I would go to these heater classes, they always tell you once a year, do annual maintenance on them. Pull the burner trays, clean them out, tighten the connections, do this and that. Get a Pete's plug, check the temperature rise, do all these things to keep these things running as efficient as possible. So when you go to use it, they're working. And that's the best case scenario. But most people, unfortunately, wait till things break down.
But you, in just explaining that scenario, I would totally understand even if I didn't have a pool, because you're telling me that, hey, like, rats love chewing these wires and they're trying to find a home as well. And all these different things. It's like, it's important to do the maintenance. What we're going to do is we're going to take the panel off. We're going to get in here and check the wires, and we're going to tighten these things up. And we're going to make sure that if we have to shop vac, the top part out, we will. It's really explaining, in the easiest terms possible, because a customer will hear that and be like, that's understandable. We're living out here in the desert. There's shit outside. I get it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. Or that's also a segue into, and if you wanted a heater that maybe does better with keeping rodents out, there's some other options on the market. So there's all these different opportunities, because there's a lot of people out there that people might be giving you a hard time. Customers might be giving you a hard time, but it's really because you're not educated in what you're talking about. Yeah. And they're getting frustrated, and that's kind of their banter with you. And really it's getting to the part where they're trying to get it cheaper because they think you don't fully know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Kind of the technique is, I guess like what I try to do is I try to disarm them. Hey, you're just trying to get a sale. No, I'm not. I got plenty to do. I'm just letting you know, this is your pool, and here's what we can do for you. And one of the choices is not to do it. Okay. But if you don't do it, let's say stay on the heater part, don't do heater maintenance. It's all right. We're still going to be around tomorrow. But when you're having that birthday party and your daughter's looking at you like, what the heck's going on here, buddy? Don't get mad at me. Get mad at yourself. And we're only here to help. And that's fine. We do wire harnesses and, cleaning heaters. That's just more money.
Because it's crazy. It's like, it's inevitable that's going to happen. It's just, I'm going to give you two options. We can do it now, or we can do it at the most inconvenient time, which is when you're ready to use it.
Sure.
You choose, because you're going to do either or.
Exactly.
Unless you plan on selling the house in between that time.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, and I used to tell people, it's like, look, and kind of being a little sarcastic here. Hey, I don't care if your heater works. There's only one heater in town that I care about. It's the heater at my pool. If that one's not working, I got to look at my daughter, and then my name is Mud. So that's the only one I really care about, But and again, it's a choice is to do. Again, it's all about choices. You can elect not to do it. That's okay. Just don't get mad at me when you're trying to have a party and it's not working.
I think another point with that too about being proactive is, like, we always talk not spending other people's money. So by you giving them the opportunity to upgrade it, you may send that report to somebody that you think is never going to do it, and they opt in to do it because you don't know their personalities or their financial situations all the time. So you need to give your customers and be proactive and give them the opportunity to upgrade that stuff and tell them what you do, and educate them on, like, hey, we offer these services. Do you want it? Because maybe they just got a big bonus check, or somebody in their family died and inherited a lot of money, or you don't know what's going on. So by giving them that opportunity, you give your business the opportunity to make more money.
Sure. I mean, so many times, we would just see an older single speed pump, and while doing the bids, like, everything looks great, it's working great, but this is an older pump and we don't need to replace it right now. It's not what we're getting at, but we'll be proactive in talking to you about a new pump. And I have, pamphlet, because I keep these on me of different,
send some information.
Yeah, exactly. And just leaving that with them. It's like, hey, if this pump, gives out, at least you've been educated on variable speed pumps, and here's all the, here's a link to the calculator and savings and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, I don't know how many times we did that where, you might not have, you're not getting the sale that day or the next day.
You're planting seeds.
Boom. You're planting that seed. And sometimes there was quite a few times where they would just call us out of the blue, be like, yeah, remember when you came out here and you were talking about that?
We're ready. We're ready to do that now.
It's like, oh, did your, pump die, or are you having some issues with it? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we just got done, watching, I don't know, maybe a documentary on. Sometimes I think, like, people like go to the movies and they get inspired to be like, or like eco-friendly or something.
Or they're at the barbecue, they're talking to their friends, and hey, look at this pump. I spend like, $30 a month on my utility bill because of this now. So what?
Even the pure sense.
Can you hear my pool equipment? No.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. Even the pure sense of it being so loud has made plenty of sales for us. Like, oh, you hear how loud this is? Like, you don't want to be out here with your, barbecue and talking with your friends, and you can hear this wah sound, all the time. So pure sense of it being quiet, has sold several pumps.
See, and again, it's all about choices, because you can be that guy that just, I vacuum the pool and skim the leaves. That's all I do. Or, hey, I am their pool service company. I'm their resource. I'm their go-to guy, and I'm looking out for them.
Oh, yeah. So move on to the website, because really interested in this. Your website is actually one of the few that I've seen that has the chat function. Has that been working okay for you guys?
Oh, it's been working fantastic. Matter of fact, we got a message from a customer when I was flying out here. It's like when I got out of airplane mode, hey, there's a message, someone's has an inquiry about a service. And I tell you, the funny story about that is, to talk about Yelp for a second, I hate Yelp. Yelp is the mafia. It's like, I was on the phone with them and it's like, what do you mean you don't want to advertise with us? Well, no. Well, why not? Well, in the 5 minutes I've been on the phone with you, I just found 5 unlicensed contractors with 5-star ratings that you guys are supporting. Like, what's this? It's that goes against everything we stand for. So I was talking to this peer group of mine, and they said, yeah, you got to be on Yelp, man. That's where everybody goes. Like, yeah, but I hate it. So then I decided, based on that conversation, look, sometimes we can be our own problem, and I need to step out of the way. So I took Eric from our office. I go, Eric, I need to talk to you. He's a younger guy. It's like, you are our new Yelp ambassador. Go find out about this, and then tell me. I'm figuring what, $200-300 a month maybe, and let's just run with it. Well, around the same exact time, just crap luck, one of my customers says, hey, I'm repping this company called Broadly, and it's this chat thing, and it's like, look, this is information overload for me, but I do have a Yelp ambassador here. Hey, Eric, why don't you go talk to Jim and you guys figure it out and tell me if this is a good idea? And so we decided to do it. It's way less money than Yelp, but yeah, it gives people an opportunity to get a hold of us through our website, and we get right back to them. And it's been like, we get a lead a day on that thing. It's been phenomenal.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Do you guys set up the chat to be live ever?
I had to ask my Yelp ambassador.
Oh, yeah. Get him on the phone right now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, go on the chat bot and send him a message. No, hey, I think so. So I think it kind of times out at odd hours, but they all go to his cell phone, and I get copied on the emails. And so we if it's a repair, it goes to the repair department. If it goes to service, it goes to the service department. So
yeah, I think that's really cool because you're able to kind of vet those. Normally would be calls, but you can vet different inquiries much faster. And somebody could very well be on your website and ask a question for a service. Maybe they need a pool built or designed, or they're looking for something else. It's so much easier to just say, unfortunately, we do not offer that service, but we highly recommend contacting our friends at Like, you're a resource. Like, oh, well, geez, you didn't have to do all that, but thank you. I will reach out to them, and you could get a lead on that. But it's just so much easier. And sometimes some of those calls, depending on the customer, can be really awkward. There's been so many calls where it's like, wow, I wish that would have been an email or a chat, because that would have been so much, easier, and letting them know, because they're like, yeah, well, my last guy was, $60 a month. Like, you guys, that's outrageous. It's like so much easier, through a chat or something, to just be like, well, why did you fire them?
Right.
Yeah, no. And a lot of it is about screening. So we hope that our website kind of screens people, and definitely on the phone. But we do not just go out on every lead. We have all right, get the questionnaire, and on the bottom, hey, if you're looking for the cheapest price, we're probably not going to be it. We're not going to be the most expensive, but it's if you're looking for, hey, I want my stuff handled. I want, when I call you guys, I want someone to answer the phone. If those are the things you want, then yeah, let's talk. But if it's just the conversation is purely driven on how cheap you can get it, it saves us a lot of wear and tear on tires and gas.
Yeah. And the consumer gets some kind of answer to their question much faster, because there's a lot of statistics that after 15 minutes, even if they leave a voicemail, which a lot of people don't do anymore, but it's after, 15 minutes, they're going next in line on that, first page of Google. So it's critical for somebody to, ask you a question, whether it be through the chat, email, or whatever, but you're giving them an answer to their question right away.
Yeah,
and that really helps with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely for us totally brand new. As I mentioned before, no 2 years are alike. We're always open-minded. We always are looking at what's happening. Do we need to jump on this? And in this case, it was like I just needed to jump out of the way because I was holding something back, like a big opportunity. And sometimes, as business people, we think that we've got all the answers, and sometimes, we're the problem.
Yeah. But I think
too close to home.
It's equally important to know when to let go, because you have to understand that, as the owner, you have that power. And I think a lot of people will give you credit to being like, we know how difficult that was for you to be able to let that go, because that's a big choice where you're like, you know what? I understand that this needs to be more progressive and go in a different direction. I'm just not quite sure how to lead us there, because I still do X, Y, and Z, which is, just as important as anything else.
And we weren't doing that 34 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's been, a lot of changes.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to take a minute to introduce our newest sponsor and supporter, Ledge Lounger.
Oh yeah, really excited and thankful to have y'all on board with us.
Yeah, we actually recorded an episode with Christopher Anderson, the CEO and founder of Ledge Lounger. It is actually episode 29, so if you have not heard it and to understand more of the story, go check it out.
Definitely one of our favorites. So I think the easiest way to describe their product is they make a high quality outdoor furniture that looks amazing, especially by the pool. Their signature product is a chase, and I can't think of a more iconic piece in our industry than that.
Definitely.
The chase sits in the water on Baja or Sun Shelf. You might notice people tanning on these on Instagram, and their feed is just blowing up with thousands of likes and comments.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen those.
So probably rings a bell now.
Yeah, so we just actually recently went to Brookshire, Texas to meet up with the Ledge Lounger team, and we took a tour of the facility and really got to understand the company and culture so much more. Everyone was so full of energy and excited to be part of the team, and they all did their jobs flawlessly. We also actually recorded an episode and did a fireside chat, which will be another episode, so stay tuned for those.
And they just came out with a line of games. And these games are made out of the same high quality materials as our outdoor furniture. And, they're designed to go poolside just like the furniture is, which is really cool. And while we were there, we were able to test drive one of their new games, the ping pong table. And let me tell you,
yes, please tell us.
I don't know if you saw on our Instagram IGTV, but I was passing out whoopings on their ping pong table.
Oh my!
I mean, Tyler and JC, they just, if you see the IGTV, you'll know they just didn't stand a chance. I mean, I really felt like Forrest Gump in his prime.
Oh my!
Just kidding. Y'all tried. I mean, you do get an A for effort.
Oh, thanks. So anyway, if you want to find out more about Ledge Lounger, go to ledgelounger.com. It's very cool, all that stuff with your website. It's very cool that you wanted to kind of embrace all that. So kind of let's move on from some of that to some of the struggles that face in San Diego and California and other places, but mainly California has come up with some different laws. So what kind of struggles are you facing right now as a company?
I guess I would say that just running a business in California is quite the undertaking. It is rough, and definitely the great state of California does not make it any easier on you. But, some of the biggest things, like we have a big underground economy, and that just, kind of really, makes it difficult for the companies. And there's a lot of companies out there that are doing the right thing and running legit businesses, and they're just all getting beat up out there.
Can you explain what that is if you don't know what underground economy means?
Yeah. So, for example, underground economy is the people that are kind of like off the grid, let's say. So, for example, we have employees. Everyone's an employee, so we W-2 them. We pay workman's compensation on them, and they're in our company trucks and our shirts and the whole deal. Versus, let's say, an underground economy type of company would be someone that maybe don't have a license. They pay their guys cash. Maybe they 1099 them. Maybe they don't, and really driving the pricing down. And so when you've got a competitor whose costs are 30 or 40% less than yours, it's a tougher thing to compete with. But what we also found out, though, is that if we can align ourselves with customers that are more like-minded like us, then it's really not. That's kind of one of the ways we've addressed it. And of course, unlicensed contractors, that's a really big thing. Internet has just really changed a lot of stuff. And again, for us, when we're faced with these challenges, we got to figure out how do we operate our business the way we want to operate it in this environment. And one of the ways that we've done it is to be a warranty service center for all the brands of equipment we put in. And part of our pitch is that, we're going to put this automation system in with these circuit boards, but you actually have a warranty, a 1 or 2 or 3 year warranty or whatever the case is. And you don't have to call, the manufacturer. You don't have to call the internet. You just call us. We'll take care of it, smooth sailing. And so when you have a client that understands that when things go wrong on the back end, it's going to cost them more money, then it really helps us out a lot too. But that, man, I wish we didn't have to deal with it. It really changes a lot of stuff. While it brings a lot of good to our life, it also makes things more challenging.
Yeah, all that stuff is really tough. One other thing, you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago, and through our research, we could tell that you're very passionate about pool safety. And, you told me about your time at IPPSA. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, the first 9 years I just sat in the back and just kind of observed and the whole thing. As I started doing more things, I was in a chapter president, and at that time my kids were real young. I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm going to come on. I'm going to be a regional director representing San Diego County, and let's go do this. And of course, safety is right in the IPPSA mission statement. But back in those days, we're talking like 2007-ish, somewhere in there. Believe it or not, pool safety wasn't the big priority, because the mentality back then was, amongst our IPPSA guys, was like, look, we don't talk about pool safety, because if we do and something happens, you could be held liable for it. And, IPPSA is all about liability insurance and the whole thing, and we don't even want to go there. And so being in that position as the safety and public relations person, I thought, okay, so what does this job mean? Well, safety is a big part of it. And I've got kids, and how can you be in the pool business and not be talking about pool safety? Around that time, the federal government just passed the Virginia Graham Baker Pool Spa Safety Act. And I was reading an article about Nancy Baker, the mom. I called up Pool and Spa News. Hey, how can I be put in touch with this person? So they gave her my number. She called me, and was coming out of the Vaughn Shopping Center. And it's like I get a phone call. It's, oh, crap, this is Nancy Baker. Hang on, let me call you right back. So I get to the parking lot, and I'm calling her. And what do you tell a bereaving mother who just lost her child in that case was a suction entrapment, drownings and near drownings and all these things that happen? What do you say to somebody like that? And so I know that in the state of California, the pool industries, like we had spec back in those days, and a lot of our lobbyists were kind of, the sentiment was they were anti-safety, and they really weren't. It's just that people were trying to pass barrier laws, say, hey, put a fence around every single pool. And they're saying, no, you don't have to do that. There's other ways. And it was like it was just not a good fit. So I called her up and said, look, I just want you to know that there are pool guys out there that do care about safety. And I'm one of them, and I'm part of this group called IPPSA, and here's what we're trying to do. We had our Water Watcher program, and you think, hey, this would be an easy sell. But again, the first thing I had to do was kind of fight the mentality. And it's like, no, we don't talk about this. And so we had a really great board. Terry Snow, who's still very active with the pool safety stuff, Jim Romanowski, Jerry Hausman. We all got along great. We all were like-minded. We all were like, hey, let's make things a little bit better. And I really just kind of took that whole thing on. And again, the motivation is, as we as an industry have an obligation to promote a safe product and to educate our customers on pool safety and to say the drowning word. Hey, drownings happen, and here's a couple things you can do, or here's some resources. And so I put together, long story short, I was able to get a budget together, and I hired a video company, and we actually produced these IPPSA safety videos. And the idea was to have these little short tidbits about different various topics. We did it. We rolled it out. I put a ton of effort and time into it. And I tell you, when we rolled it out at the leadership seminar, I broke down. Like, yeah, I know you guys look at me, a big tough guy, the whole thing. I was going to say,
how's this big tough guy in the new shirt going to be breaking down like that?
Well, I tell you, the weirdest thing, man, it's like, as I'm talking to these IPPSA leaders, and we're rolling out this thing that I've been working really hard on, and I've got a lot of support and from our IPPSA guys and the whole thing. The best way I can describe is I could feel the sentiment change in the room. Like we went to we don't talk about pool safety, like, holy crap, we got to get on this. And so now in our business, while I kind of step back from that role, and those guys are doing a great job. I think IPPSA just got a Lifehouse Award, I think, which is the biggest top honor for the National Drowning Prevention Symposium, which is a big thing coming from it was like, the tension was bad back in those days between the pool industry and safety advocates. And but even to this day, every invoice that goes out, hey, for pool safety information, poolsafety.org, IPPSA.com, and we're always promoting that on our estimates, on our website. When we do some promotional TV stuff, we're always weaving in the pool safety stuff. It's, to me, it's like, how can you be in this business and that just not be, top priority?
Yes, extremely irresponsible. But, we want to say thank you so much for taking that so serious. Say thank you because we have kids as well, and can't tell you how much, like, I'm just on the verge of breaking down every time, like damn near every day that I have to see that a kid was killed drowning, or 2 kids just recently, hopped a fence and, drowned in a pool because the parents were not responsible enough to inform their kids of, how responsible you really need to be by a pool. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Every kid should know.
I went to the National Drowning Prevention Symposium in Miami back in the day when I was serving in that capacity with IPPSA. And I got a chance to meet Blake Collinsworth. He's the guy that's got the Josh Otter program. Really, he had a son die in his backyard pool in Nebraska, and they really just got this whole big campaign going, doing a lot of stuff in the pool safety community. And I remember talking to him, and this had just happened after he lost his son. And I was saying, hey, look, sorry to hear that. And by the way, at IPPSA, we do these water watcher tags, and we encourage our members to get brochures out and water watcher tags and get the conversation going. He said something pretty impactful. He says, I had a pool, and I had a pool guy. Where was my water watcher tag? It wasn't even in the conversation. And so as pool professionals, and again, are you a professional, or are you the guy that's just raking leaves and out of the pool? And, you don't have to have all the answers, but, there are resources out there. You steer them towards that. What's it cost you to go on your QuickBooks, on your invoice, and put down, hey, for pool safety tips, check out this website. And it's out there. There's a lot of, now there's stuff everywhere. Every day there's new stuff going on. What's to stop you from putting a safety thing on your Facebook page? Take 2 seconds. You can, got a picture of you and at the beach hanging out with people, put a safety thing on it. Why not?
Yeah. And making sure that you just leave something there, even include it in your cost of service. If it's an extra $5-10 to leave them with a tangible something or other that is always going to remind them to know pool safety, like, that's what we should be doing.
Sure.
And there shouldn't be any compromises. I don't really ever understand what the pool fences and the pool covers and all this. Why aren't we like, there's so many innovations and technology and all this. Why isn't somebody coming up with, because if it's the cool factor where, it doesn't look cool to have a pool fence, well, shit, figure something else out.
Yeah.
Let's do more glass. Let's do something. I don't see what the issue is.
Yeah.
You know how many, every car, I always use this analogy, but every car on the road has a freaking seatbelt. Yeah. Would it be cool to not get my shirt wrinkled when I get in there and not have to use a seatbelt?
Or wear that T-shirt with that black stripe that looks like a seatbelt?
Yeah, but you don't get a freaking choice.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Airbags.
This should be
airbags.
Yeah. This should be one of them where it's like, dude, swimming pool, it's got to have these things. Because everyone's like, it can't happen to me. Yeah, that's what everybody thought.
And also to kind of to expand the topic of pool safety too. And again, this is why it's important to be a professional. So we've all put in variable speed pool pumps, for example, in a backyard, right? Well, if you're doing, brand X, it's a 3 horsepower pump on the top end. All right, so pool and spa combo, single main drain. You just put a 3 horsepower pump in that thing because someone, probably not you, because you probably programmed it, but someone can unprogram and make it a 3 horsepower because they want more jet action. Well, did you even think about maybe have a flat 8-inch main drain with no sump in there that's got that type of volume of water going through it? So don't just like, hey, I'm going to pop a pump in and be gone. Is it the right pump for the right application? Do I need to say, hey, I'm going to put this pump in, but we really need to talk about upgrading this drain cover or doing a split main drain or one of the many options and not just say, hey, I'm here to make a fast buck, put that pump in and get going. Look at the whole environment and make recommendations. Be that resource, be that pool professional, not the guy that's just raking the leaves out of the pool. And again, it's all choice. That's who you want to be. Great. That's but don't be putting this stuff in. And, at the end of the day, we do have an obligation and to have a safe product, just like the seatbelts, just like the airbags.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It is definitely our responsibility. Everybody listening to this, it is 100% our responsibility in letting everybody know about pool safety. If you're at a hotel with your kids, speak to your kids about pool safety, and hopefully parents around will pick up on what you're talking about, because I think we have to lead by example everywhere we are 100% of the time. I mean, I've made a pact. I've been talking to my kids a lot about it, but nobody is swimming in our pool unless they're been educated, like almost like a quiz before they go swimming.
Oh yeah.
It's a ton of fun, but you're going to understand that this comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. We should do the walk around, because the thing is, your kids could be educated, but then here come a whole new batch of new kids that have never been to your backyard. And I built a pool that was a black bottom pool. You got to let them know where the shallow end is, because you don't want someone diving head first in it, not having that depth perception in water, and just plowing right into the shallow end of the pool. And we built a 6-foot deep pool with a water feature. Don't be diving off of that thing, and no running around the deck. You hate to sound like the fun sucker, but everyone gets a tour. Hey, now have a good time. And one adult is going to be watching the kids at all times.
Yes,
absolutely.
Definitely. I like that. You guys had the waterproof water card necklace. I know this was back in I think there's a video that you promoted.
Sure, and there's a lot of them out there. A lot of people do that, and really it's a symbolic gesture to say, hey, look, I'm watching the kids, but I got to take a call, I got to go take a leak, I got to do something. Hey, hand it off to the next responsible adult. And that doesn't mean the teenager on the phone. It's something that in working in the pool safety world, a lot of drownings happen at parties. Yeah, when there's tons of people around.
Yep. Because they're drinking and they're not paying attention, or I think a lot of the times they're like, oh, somebody else is watching that kid.
Yeah, it can't happen.
That person
here.
thinks you're watching them, and then somebody else. It's just, that's not the way to do it.
It can't happen here. This is an amazing house with an amazing pool. Nothing's going to go wrong here.
Yeah, we had an idea yesterday in our meeting. We were talking about you should have like almost Uber lifeguard. So you want to tan, your mom, dad, or you're just trying to hang out. He dedicates somebody to, watch over the pool. I was like, pool guardian. It's kind of weird. Wouldn't use it, but hey, whatever it takes.
Well, it's funny because we were having a party one time for my daughter, and I thought, you know what? At this party, I'm going to be having a couple beers. I'm going to be barbecuing. I don't want to watch the kids. You know what we did? One of the pools we take care of, they have a staff of lifeguards. I go, hey man, are you guys able to kind of do some moonlight? Yeah, no problem. So I paid the guy $100. Dude, your job is to watch that pool. When we're all having cake, you're there watching the pool, even if no one's in there. And he did it. Afterwards we fed him and paid him and the whole thing. But I knew that, hey, I'm going to be that irresponsible adult at this party because, I want to have some fun too, let my hair down, but we're just going to have someone that's going to be watching the kids.
Right.
Yeah, that's very cool. You do. Yeah, we did actually a whole episode on episode 39 with Collins Hope for you pool pros if you want to learn more on what you guys can do to help, educate your customers on that. So let's move on from that to kind of the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance chapter in San Diego. Our buddy Dustin was on the episode with us. He's in that group with you.
We just made him a board member too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. Good guy.
Congratulations, Dustin.
Yes, congrats, Dustin. Such a good guy.
Really good. Tell us more about why you restarted up that chapter and kind of what the purpose is behind it.
Sure. So it used to be the APSB, and APSB has a lot of education offerings, and they've got a lot of standards that they're involved in writing on hydraulics and everything pool related. Carvin DiGiovanni, who's one of the main guys out there out of Virginia, I met him through my IPPSA days, and as we cross paths every now and then, say, hey, when are you going to start up a chapter up there? It's like, yeah, come on, man. I need another thing to do. I need another hole in the head, because once I'm on something, I'm on something. And so I was talking to him. We're at a function in Dallas a year ago in April, and he's twisted my arm again. Hey, when are you guys going to do it? We need some presence out there, because there was, I think, 30 chapter members in San Diego County, but there was no chapter. And so a lot of people just, I'll pay my fee to be a member, and then I can say I'm a member, and that's it. And that's all there was. And so Ken Howard down in San Diego was also twisting my, hey, we got to get the good guys together in a room. We're all so fragmented out there. There's so many great guys, and he's a certified pool builder through APSP. And then another pool plaster guy, Lupe from Blue Moon Pools, he was trying to kind of get something going together. He'd actually got a room together, brought Harold from Miranda Technologies to come talk about water chemistry, and he put this group of plaster guys and service guys like, hey, we all got on the same page. So he was trying to do something very organically. And when I was in Dallas, I get this text from the APSP that they just passed that Dynamex ruling. It's like, holy crap, this is, and what that is it makes it almost impossible to treat someone as a 1099, and so it makes everyone kind of pay people as an employee. So it's just like, if you're a pool cleaning company, you cannot hire someone that cleans pools. You can hire someone to do leak detection or whatever that's outside your scope. But if they do what you do, they're your employee. Have a nice day. And so it's like, wow, that's pretty crazy. So now it's like, all right, so now if the state of California is doing that, then maybe there's some momentum here. And then there's a really big need to get people together that are of like minds. And so in talking to Lupe, he's like, man, we got to get the good guys together. There's so many good guys out here. It's like, yeah, but dude, trying to do it organically, like that ain't going to happen. So I told him, hey, why don't we, adopt the APSP brand and let's get something started. And so we got together and we're trying to figure this out. And I got in touch with Jennifer Farwell she's up in Sacramento. Things just kind of happened. And it's like, all right, let's all meet. Let's form a chapter. Let's see what happens. And we just kind of did it on the fly. In our first meeting, we had Ken Gregory from Pantera come down, and he's one of the guys that writes a lot of the standards and heavily involved in the drowning prevention community, mainly with hydraulics and VGB compliance and things like that. And had a kind of a kickoff meeting and kind of got things going. But when I sat back, like everything else, okay, what is the need? What do we have to offer? How can we make things better? What are the touch points? And so everyone's, just like you asked me, what are the biggest things? Hey, everyone's upset about the underground economy. Everyone's upset about lack of enforcement, no licenses, the whole thing. So I was able to meet the deputy district attorney because in San Diego County, they're doing this big campaign on work comp fraud. They got billboards everywhere and signs on bus stations and on buses. And from what I understand, when they started this program, the work comp fraud cases went down 50% just by saying, hey, commit work comp fraud, you're going to jail. And so I called the number. It's like, hey, so tell me more. Like, what are you guys looking for? Like, just guys that are playing softball when they say they got bad backs that are work related, or are you guys like looking for people that are not paying work comp on people like the underground economy? Oh no, we're looking for everything. So I was able to kind of make a connection, and as we're building a group, it's like, hey, would you guys be interested in coming to talk to our group? And they said, yeah. And it's like, we had that meeting, I think last October, and we probably had like 80 people. Like everybody came out of the woodwork, and because everyone's got the same problem. So then we made some contacts with the state contractors licensing board. There's actually an enforcement office in San Diego County, but the joke is like, well, they don't do anything. There's no enforcement, yet they are doing stuff every day. It's just you don't see it. We went out and met with them, and again, hey, I'm not Javier Payan from Payan Pools. Hey, I'm the president of the San Diego County Association of Pool and Spa Professionals, and it's like, yeah, we'll come down to your meeting. We found that those topics really got people together, but more importantly, it's a way for us to get together around a common cause, but also too, while we're there, hey, let's network. Let's meet people. And like for example, Lupe from Blue Moon calls me on a fairly regular basis. Now here's a pool plaster guy calling a service company and said, hey, I don't know what I'm looking at right now. Can you help me out with this? Or I've got a customer that's got this issue and I'm being blamed for it. Can you help me out? Well, sure. And that relationship works both ways. Instead of saying, oh, it's a service related issue or it's a plaster guy, all this finger pointing, we're actually working together on stuff. And it's been a lot of fun, and we're coming up on our first year anniversary here in July. So it's been a lot of fun. But again, it's like, how do we get the best guys in town, the pool professionals that want to be better, and how do we take the guys that maybe want to be part of that, but they just don't know, they don't have a venue or how to get to that? Well, let's bring those guys in. Let's take the guys that are not good guys. Let's make them good guys. Let's make this whole industry better, and let's figure it out. We were talking about the WAVE program too. There's the pool business is not unlike any other trade where there's a lack of new people coming in. And I think a lot of people, a lot of younger folks they're turned off by the existing associations that are out there because they're all a bunch of old guys, and it's like, because there's just no funnel coming in. And so with APSP now, PHTA, they've got a program, it's called a WAVE program, to encourage younger people to come and form like a sub-chapter of our chapter or a committee of our chapter, so that they're networking with other people and have the opportunity to be mentored or to be around people that have already made those hundreds of mistakes, that have already changed the wrong drain covers or not had the right screws, and kind of lead them along the way. So as older guys like myself, as we all go out to pasture, we're making this industry better and thriving.
That's really cool. Is there any, I don't know, availability in your guys' group?
Oh,
in San
definitely.
Diego?
Definitely. So the place we've got set up, we meet at the Scottish Rite Center, and it's pretty cool because we got a room that'll fit like 80 people. And then they got another room that'll fit like 200 people. And they got this huge room that looks like a big old basketball facility,
Yeah.
We would love to have we'd love to have hundreds of people. As a matter of fact, back in the day, going back about 25 years ago, NSPI, the National Spa and Pool Institute, was really big in San Diego. I made a lot of good connections that are still good connections for us right now in the networking that we did back in those days. And they were like really well put together, and there was always some cool topic. So as chapter presidents, like, hey, let's bring that back. Let's bring back a venue where people can network. There's something it's not going to be like, hey, we're going to talk about test kits today. It's something that's going to be more broad, that brings the builders and the plaster companies and the service guys and the vendors and the landscape architects. And let's get all these guys in a room together, and let's make this industry better, and let's make good relationships with the best people in town.
Nice. How can people get more information on this, or at least, sign up to come to one of the events?
Yeah, so we put our flyers out at distribution. We send emails out. We encourage everyone to kind of spread the word kind of organically. APSP/PHTA, which stands for Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, which is really easy to, when they told me they were changing the name, it's like PHTA, like, really? I got to remember that? Like, I'm a C student. And Ken says, no, dude, think about it. It's like pH, power hydrogen, and total alkalinity. Oh, I got this down. Brilliant, So they've got a website, and maybe you guys can post it, but I think it's still APSP.org. Yeah,
we'll put the exact details on there.
Yeah, but at APSP.org, there's a link to they put a page up for us, and it's got our meeting dates and the whole thing.
Sweet, yeah. So for anybody listening, it'll be in the description of the show notes for that specific area.
So you've been part of the IPPSA chapters and different communities. If somebody is not a part of this community and trying to be a professional, why should they consider joining something like that?
Again, I guess the theme is it's all choices. What do you want to do? Are you better by yourself, or are you better with other people? Are you better with good people, or are you like your dad said, you want to hang out with millionaires, hang out with millionaires. If you want to hang out with bums, hang out with bums, or if you want to be a bum, rather. But we're growing this very organically. Yes, we have a vision, maybe having hundreds of people where we meet like every 2 months. But, the thing is, it's all about choices. Like, if you're a young guy starting out, do you know that there are really good builders in town? Do you know any? Do you know there's really good remodelers and new plaster guys that are not going to throw you under the bus? Do you know that? You should know that guy maybe. Well, he's going to be there. Maybe you don't know how to work on a heater. Maybe you can meet somebody that's got a Pete's plug somewhere in his shop in that yellow bin, So I would say, like, why wouldn't you? For me, I was always doing those things. I was always looking for every opportunity. And we want to be very inclusive and welcoming. I know one, as a new chapter, as we're trying to figure it out, someone said, well, shouldn't you have to be a member to show up? It's like, no, we want people to show up, and we want them to become members, of course, because there's strength in numbers. It's not obligatory. Come on by, hang out, meet some new people. One of the things that's really cool, we got this landscaper, forget his name. He's a guy that does landscaping, but he works around pools. So I don't know how he found out about us, but he wants to know more about pools because he maybe wants to get into that, or maybe find out enough that maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should stay in my landscaping world. But at the same time, he's coming out because he's doing projects around pools.
Making the right first step, though.
Definitely. Absolutely.
In whatever direction he's going.
Yeah. And if you just started out cleaning pools, why not hang out with, smart people?
And I think that feeling of, you're a part of something, especially a big group of people who are all in the same industry, quality of life goes up for you. I think that might be, a little much for people, but I think that you cope with life much better and easier knowing that you're in this with other like-minded individuals, and you're learning new things that you didn't know yesterday. I just think you look at the world much differently than you had before if you weren't ever a part of something like that.
Yeah, our last meeting that we had a panel of millennials. And because everyone wants to jump on millennials and, they're lazy, they have no work ethic, this whole thing. Well, we hire a bunch of millennials, and they're great people. They work hard, And so we put a panel of 3 millennials, and we had Rich Gallo came down from L.A. area. He was on our panel.
He's not a millennial.
No,
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
And so we had him because he's like in his, I think, early 40s, I think. somewhere in there. And then we had Scott McKenna, the owner of Gardner Pool Plastering, like the largest pool remodeling company in Southern California. And we had this guy, Bob Fowler, old IPPSA guy, who's one of the guys way back in the day when I started out with IPPSA. He was one of the main guys in San Diego that got things going. He's now retired. And so we had this panel of 3 millennials and one old guy, one older guy, and one even older guy. But we kind of got the juices flowing. We had the older guys say, you have some advice for the millennials down there. And they gave some really good wisdom. And at the same time, it's like, hey, you millennials, you have any advice for these older guys? Because, we're living in, for the first time in human history, in an age where young people are teaching old people stuff, like how to program a phone or something like that, And whereas before, everything got handed down from the older people and everything knowledge was being shared downwards. Yeah. And now it's like, it's all over the place. And so, and there's a lot of young guys that are young guys and gals that are coming into the business. And why not embrace them? Why not steer? Hey, why don't we, again, like with the pool safety stuff, we also have an obligation to make them as best as they can be and keep this industry, as professional as possible.
That's so cool. And I think you nailed it, that each side needs to embrace each other, because there's too many times where millennials think they know everything and they don't understand that the older generations are the pioneers and they created all these different things. They're just putting a bad taste in their mouth. And then vice versa, the older generation is like, you might be lazy or they've made up their mind in this other area, but, we do maybe a better job in marketing and getting, exposure out there and being on top of, say, automation and some of the new technologies in chemical feeders and all that stuff.
And if you think about, you're an older guy that already knows everything and you're going to our APSP meeting and you're already stuck in that mindset that millennials suck and that's all there is to it. What's that going to do to your business? Are you going to hire 15, 6-year-olds all day long? Or are you going to say, what do I got to do to figure this out? And I'm pretty convinced that millennials will work just as hard as any other generation. What motivates them is different, though. It's a whole different mindset, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's like, the guy that can tap into that. And it's funny, at the Jandy Symposium, we had Matt Gulke come down.
Yeah, Gulke. I was going to say that.
He had a whole thing on millennials. Actually, I was trying to get him to come down, but he was busy. But we kind of coined him the Pied Piper of millennials because he's got a lot of young people working for him. But, he's the guy that figured it out. Hey, what do I got to do to be more flexible to embrace this generation of workers so that my business is better in the end and that everyone's life is better. And he's figured it out. And I'm sure he'll probably tell you I'm still figuring it out. But, and that was just last APSP meeting. And so we again, kind of put my APSP/PHTA hat on. We're trying to make content that people can really get value out of, that they want to attend and, really foster that networking.
Very cool. It's a good idea.
Thank you for doing that. It's awesome.
We're getting towards the end here, but we were curious because on the forum you had mentioned that you were working with a power company to connect variable speed pumps, for the internet. What was that all about?
Well, I'll try to keep it as brief as possible because a story that took about 3 or 4 years to go. But we went to a class put on by one of the manufacturers. They're looking for service companies to maybe would be interested or give some input on this topic called demand response. And what demand response is, for example, I don't know if they have it out here, but when the power company senses that they're going to be running out of energy and not meet the demand, they can flip a switch and, let's say, for example, turn everyone's air conditioners down. So they got that device. So the idea was take the second largest energy hog, which is the pool pump, and turn that down. And so, long story short, we're selected out of a handful of companies in Southern California. And it's like, yeah, let's do it. And again, just being that type of person that, hey, this is the new thing. This is, this doesn't happen. Well, we got set up with this company that was from Silicon Valley, and they came down. They had this setup, and me and my guy Mike, the King, we drove up to San Jose with a bunch of equipment, and we did this equipment upgrade and put this controller on that these computer geeks were controlling with the laptop computer. Now we know you can do it with an app now, but this is going back several years ago, and the whole idea was to get multiple people on the system so they can hit a switch and turn it down. And long story short, we were able to call some of our customers and say, hey, how would you like a free variable speed pool pump? All you have to do is let us put it in and let us monitor it and let us do this test. Sure, no problem. Easiest sell on the planet. And so we actually did that, and it was successful. And in that time, I got the experience of going to San Francisco to Sempra Energy to kind of report on what we're doing. I went to San Diego Gas Electric in San Diego to report on what we're doing to their committees that were looking at this. And it was something completely, out of what we normally do, but it was fun. It was different, and we took the challenge on. I think we did a really good job. I think as the story went, I think we did a really good job that the power company didn't think we were going to pull it off. And again, we can't take all the credit because we had some other people working on this as well too. We just did the installs and the whole thing. And I think that they weren't prepared to roll out a program. And so I think we did like 20 properties or something like that, or 15, something like that. And they came back the next year. Can you do this on 50 properties? It's like, I guess, but this time on single speed pumps. Like, really? So we actually did that, but that kind of just fell apart because they were spread apart. The technology wasn't there on those single speed pumps to do it. And it just kind of collapsed. But that would have been, had it worked, who knows, that could have been a multi-million-dollar venture. And, the next opportunity come up too. But, to be in that environment and having that experience, just, I think, to find some, to justify some of that is like, hey, that was a great experience. But yeah, now I know what it's like to go before Sempra Energy and give a testimony on a project like that. And now I know how to sell variable speed pool better because I know more of the science behind it in terms of what the power company is doing and all that stuff. So it was looking back, I mean, it was a great experience, and just to have been selected and to be part of that. And then also to having, the courage to say, yeah, let's step outside of our normal everyday stuff and let's try something new and see what happens.
That's really cool. I think there's a lot to getting out of your comfort zone and just doing something different. Yeah. You might learn something new about yourself.
and every now and then we have a good idea that works.
That's awesome. So before we end this episode, is there any books or podcasts that have, kind of helped you through your career that you can, tell our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to think of myself as a really creative guy, and like some business, but I love business books. I'm not a big reader, but I like to get things on audio tape. But there's a book called First Break All the Rules, which just the title is like, hey, that just gives you creative license to do whatever. Another good book is a book called Different, and it goes into stories like, for example, Cirque du Soleil, how they just totally reinvented it. As a matter of fact, I just heard that I think Circus Vargas is one of those companies that's going out of business. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah, one of the big circus acts. But anyhow. And yet Cirque du Soleil just reinvented that whole category and is just running with that. In general, business books like that, I just really thrive on them. And podcasts, what you guys are doing is fantastic. Is fan-freaking-tastic a word?
Oh, yeah.
It is now, yeah.
For sure.
It is now.
Yeah, you guys are really, like had something like this existed, 10, 20, 30 years ago, I think that, just being around the great minds of the industry, I think is a really, really good influence. And, I also love a lot of comedy podcasts, Joe Rogan, I think does a great job. I'm sure it's probably got one of the biggest podcasts up, but man, what an array of guests he's got on.
What's your favorite?
Oh, well, I always like the Neil deGrasse Tyson ones. He's a nut. And then just recently I forget the guy's name, but the guy that worked at Area 51. Talking about, they just came out, I think, last week or something like that.
He's the one that was on they did the documentary on Area 51 too.
Oh, yeah, mind-blowing stuff. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, Joe Rogan podcast can't ever go wrong. It's always entertaining.
Yeah.
Kyle said it's the Ringling Brothers that are going out of business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Big time, old school.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Any other podcasts you listen to?
Yeah, again, I'm a big comedy guy too. I like Nick DiPaolo, Bill Burr's got some good stuff going on. Tom Rhodes, but that's pretty much it. That's enough right there.
Yeah, usually like when you're on the road or just on the airplane, you just fit it in.
Oh, definitely. Monday morning driving to work, new Pool Chasers podcast pops up. Oh, cool! This is really cool.
Hey, look, that's my name.
Exactly. I know that guy. I had a beer with that guy.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Cool part about you mentioned this podcast being honest and truthful. There's something cool you mentioned about, you wrote down. I haven't seen people write that yet.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have, free speech in America. And right now, one of the trends that's happening is that you can't voice your opinion. It's like the country's divided into two. Either you think this way or you think that way. It's like, hey, look, we're all one country and we can have a conversation. Like I talk to customers, look, we don't have to agree. but we just have to kind of hear each other out. And I'm not here to convince you any other way, but we all have a right to have our opinion. And I think that the podcast format is a way to just be stripped down, unfiltered, just a couple guys talking about whatever, random stuff, or even things of content. And it's okay. You guys could say, you know what, when I leave, hey, this guy was wrong on everything, but that's all right. Well, at least we can talk about it and have a free exchange of ideas.
Exactly. And that's a lot better than, what's been going on for a long time, is because we're always so sensitive about the kind of information we put out there. And we understand that there was things even on social media that like we didn't want to put out there because we're like afraid of, what people are going to say. And we want to be done with that. We want to be able to ask for help. Where just people come in here and, discuss their history, their story, what they believe in, and maybe it'll inspire a bunch of people to do things differently. And that's really what we want, is to just keep the ball moving and keep that momentum going.
Yeah, well, I don't know how big of a reach you guys have. I'm sure you guys do, but man, you guys, word on the street is you guys are like doing something really, really innovative, really cool.
Well, thank you for saying that. We really appreciate it. And we can't even believe that we do this for a living, to be honest, but it's the coolest thing ever.
Nice.
So where can people reach out if they want to reach out to you?
Well, through our chat box, through my Yelp ambassador. So we're payanpools.com, Payan. Javier at payanpools.com is my email. That's best way to get a hold of me. I know we're going into July here, and it's going to be busy, so we'll all be busy. But been around for a long time. I'll still be there.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and have a safe flight back home.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to find out more about our guests or the sponsors of the show, you can check them out on the links we have provided in the write-up below. We have also provided links to our social media platforms, so please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our tag is Pool Chasers. If the podcast has brought you any value, please do what you can to support us through our Patreon page by going to patreon.com/Pool Chasers. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to be updated each time a new episode is released. One last thing. If you're not yet in our Facebook group, join it today to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are all trying to better the industry. Thank you all for the support. We appreciate your time and your ear.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.